The essence of public speaking is story. Story. If you're driving right now, or you're listening to this audio in your iPod while running on the treadmill, then stop. Because I don't want you to have an accident. So stop and write this down somewhere, that a well-told story is the heart of any presentation. A well-told story is the heart of any presentation. Whether it's an inspirational talk or a formal presentation, stories work. Now, I know what you may be thinking. You may think, but Bishal, I cannot use stories in my formal presentations, can I? And the answer is, of course you can. And you need to. If you want to build credibility, if you want to gain full listening from your group, and if you want to be remembered for a long time as a speaker. You see, Bill Gove, the first president of National Speakers Association, said it long back, that public speaking is all about telling a story, making a point, telling another story, making another point, telling another story, making another point. Let me explain to you. PPTs, graphs, charts, statistics, all are absolutely fine. And I think they are needed in a formal presentation. And sometimes they are used in motivational speeches as well. But think about it. If you have a child in your family, or if you at least know a child somewhere, does a child ever come to his mother, grabs his mom's hand and says, "Mom, please show me a bullet point PPT"? No, they don't. They don't. But the demand that children place is, "Mom, tell me a story." Think about it. Why do they do that? Because our mind remembers and resonates with stories. Who's your audience? Salespeople? School students? Managers? Your team members? General public? Remember, telling a story is the best way to arrest your audience. Let me ask you this. Have you watched the movie Titanic? Good, good. Don't think too much about it, but good that you have watched the movie Titanic. Now, have you watched the Titanic, the documentary? Why? Because we love to see, hear and feel the story, not just the documentary, right? Now, I'm not saying that you have to read books and gather stories. In fact, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard a speaker who was telling a story which you had already heard before? Maybe you had encountered that particular story on YouTube, or you had read it on the book series called Chicken Soup for the Soul. The problem with using already written stories is that most of the times you will lose credibility. I mean, think about it. If you were in the audience and the speaker on stage was telling stories that you have already heard many times, chances are that you will stop trusting the speaker, thinking, "Oh, this speaker is just a reporter of stories that he has read in best-selling books. Well, I can buy the book, or I can read these stories online. Why am I here then?" See? So in your speech, always use personal stories, or what I call personalized stories. That's right, stories from your own life. Events and incidents that happen every day of your life, whether you take notice or you don't take notice. They keep happening, right? Once you learn to capture them, and once you start looking at your past, looking at your present, and extract the stories, you will have a great foundation for becoming a champion speaker, a champion presenter, and an influential presenter, and you will see that your audience members love you as a speaker. The next thing is to create a catchphrase. A catchphrase. So you have a message, right? You need to be able to say that message in a form of a catchphrase. What is a catchphrase? A catchphrase is a phrase that is rhythmic, easy to remember, and crystal clear. Listen to this small clip from one of my live interviews that was done on air by a major radio station in India. Unlike speeches, during radio interviews, I have about 30 to 45 seconds to answer a question, so I had to condense the 5-minute message into a 45-second message. Listen to the flow of the events that I explain and see if you can catch the catchphrase.
Yeah. What happened was that when I was in my 9th standard, I was offered my first puff of cigarette. I said no. And I was the only one. I became the lonely one, right? I was the lonely one. No one talked to me because I didn't smoke.
आपने choose किया अलग रहने के लिए.
Correct. Because, but at that time I didn't understand that it was a good choice. Then I went to 11th standard. I was offered my first drink. I said no. Everybody left me. I was the lonely one. When I went to college, people offered me drugs. I said no. People told me, you are not a good guy. I became the lonely one. Later on, I got a lot of awards in my life, and after, few years. And I understood one thing very well, that if you want to be the only one, sometimes you have to be the lonely one. And that's a choice. You have to make the choice. And that's why I always say, in my website, in my seminars, in my bootcamp, that excellence is not an accident, but excellence is a choice. And you can make the choice.
Welcome back. If you want to be the only one, sometimes you have to be the lonely one. Now, when I give the same message to leaders, I tell it in a form of a story, followed by an activity, and then I make the catchphrase that if you want to be the only one, sometimes you have to be the lonely one as a leader. Another catchphrase I made in the interview was that excellence is not an accident, but excellence is a choice. This is my popular signature quote actually, and I use it everywhere. Everywhere, I mean my speeches, my website, my brochure, my videos, my audios, and now I see that many people actually have started using the quote in their conversations and in their FB updates as well. It's a good thing. When they write, excellence is not an accident, excellence is a choice by Bishal Sarkar, I feel good. Actually, I feel great when people remember what I say and then they use it for their purpose. When you want people to remember your message and then repeat it to others, you need to come up with a catchphrase that sums up your entire story, your entire message. Here is the thing. If they remember your catchphrase, that means that they remember your message. If they remember your message, that means that they remember the story that you told. If they remember the story that you told, that means they remember the speech. And if they remember the speech, they remember you. They remember you as the speaker they loved listening to. So create a catchphrase to sum up your story and use the catchphrase 2 to 3 times during your presentation. Why 2 to 3 times? Remember, whatever they hear the longest becomes the strongest. Oh wow, that's actually a good catchphrase. Wait, let me post it on Facebook.